First story. My sister, who bullied me and made my life miserable until I cut ties with her, now wants to reconcile with me and my daughter after she got abused herself, and my delusional wife tried a forced reconciliation. It turns out they knew each other and were planning this long before. I am the youngest of 4 children sisters, 36, 34, 30, and me, 27. My 30-year-old sister, Lisa, physically and emotionally abused me. She would pick on me at school to curry favor with her classmates. It started with her calling me names and then escalated by the 5th grade. She pantsed me in front of a group of girls, exposing my private bits to a group of female friends. While I was young, she would beat me up, and on more than one occasion, she would leave me bloody. When I was bigger than her, and when she couldn't physically overpower me, she began spreading horrible rumors, including things about my purported homosexuality, bestiality, and sexual deviance. The teachers took her side, including the school's disciplinarian. They felt that I was making this up because she was a great student. I was also a straight-A student. My sister consistently denied the accusations to my parents. My sister would play innocent at home and cry about how I was so mean to her, and she would go out of her way to be nice to me at home. Fortunately, my parents didn't buy it and eventually sent me to a different school to avoid her. My parents could never prove what she had done and were stonewalled by school officials who didn't see the bullying. Since the school was no help, my parents separated us and would routinely ensure that at home we were separated. She was even put in therapy, but she still would never admit to anything, even though they opted to send me to a different school in the same city. I couldn't bring friends over because she would quickly tell anyone about my personality. Because of the abuse, my sister was phenomenally popular at school. She was basically treated like royalty by people who'd ask what weird SHT I had done on the weekend. If I wore a new shirt to school, she'd tell classmates that I was trying to fit in, so they'd amp up the abuse. Fortunately, this was before the rise of social media. I left for a university across the country, and it was transformative. I could be myself. My parents put me into therapy while I was at school, and I had to work on some issues, including trust and body issues, some of which I still have. A few years after high school, she eventually came clean to a therapist and admitted to my family what she had done to me. My family was horrified. My oldest sisters routinely thought I was making this up, and while they wouldn't engage in the abuse, they would never take my side or protect me. Consequently, I am close to my parents, but I could easily go the rest of my life without seeing my sisters. My oldest sister, Sarah, has made frequent attempts to reconcile, as have my other sisters. I'm not really interested. I got married last year, finished my graduate education law school, and started working. My wife, Audrey, and I decided to elope, where we only invited parents and had a quick ceremony. Due to an unforeseen condom incident where I went in without a helmet, we got pregnant and had a beautiful daughter. The problem is that my sister Lisa and other sisters not only want to make amends, but also to meet our daughter. I came home from work, and my wife was sitting at the dinner table. She was reading a letter and asked me to sit down. My sister, Lisa, had written a long letter. Audrey wanted to read it first in case it was more of her craziness. In it, she outlined that she had been abused by someone outside of our family. She wrote about how she had ruined my life and relationships with my sisters. She apparently had a sit-down with my family and told them everything. She wanted to approach me before they told me what was going on. I read the letter and felt very little, mostly disdain for her. My wife booked a couples therapy session. The therapist asked that we speak alone, and we talked. I told her the extent of my sister's abuse and to what degree she had haunted my youth. The therapist was helpful, but did recommend that I work on my issues. Some more it felt like a money grab, and that I should look within myself to forgive my sister, even if that means I don't pursue a relationship. My wife thinks I should forgive her, and that she and my sisters should meet at a public location with the baby. I told my wife that if I'm forced to be near Lisa, I'll simply explode, and she has refused. Audrey didn't push it then, but she has begun applying pressure on me to begin forgiving my sister. My sisters have also stepped up the frequency of emails, letters, and communications through my mother or wife. I got Lisa's email and wrote a formal cease and desist letter warning her that any further communication with me, my wife, or my child would result in further legal action. It got back to my life, and who has been really upset with me. I feel like I have every right to keep them out of my life and owe them nothing. My wife thinks I owe my sister, who she feels was deeply traumatized, the ability to apologize to my face. This past weekend, I was out getting some groceries for Audrey. When I arrived home, there was a car in the driveway that I didn't recognize. I went in and found my oldest sister. I was furious. I told her and her husband to get out. I was furious with my wife. We got into a fight, and I told her to never, ever blindside me again, or I'd divorce her. She felt bad, but I was so mad that I spent the weekend sulking and working in the basement. Honestly, Reddit, I don't know what to do. Everyone is pushing me one way, and I absolutely hate the idea of ever forgiving her. TLDR. My sister abused me for years and recently admitted that she did it because she herself had been abused. She's apologized and wants to build a new relationship, but I would much rather never speak to any of my sisters again. My wife thinks I owe it to my family. Not sure what to do. Update. Welp, I don't even know where to begin. I posted just over a week ago. I'm still gathering my thoughts. So, here goes. After reading all of the comments, I went and spoke to Audrey, my wife. She knew I was furious still and quickly opened the floor by apologizing and saying many of the things you had all said here. She even referenced comments by Unapt Kirk, which took me by surprise. She said she saw the thread. She was Googling relationship advice and came across our relationships and saw this thread and realized I had written it. Luckily, I used a throwaway account. We talked, she cried, and I ate. I felt vindicated, but was annoyed that I didn't get to have my dramatic moment. From what she told me, she has an aunt that her mother won't speak to, and she didn't want it to get to that level, which is why she cried and felt bad for everything, including meetings with my sisters without my knowledge or consent. It goes like this for a while, and meet? As in, I've met them before, not just at our house. I ask her to clarify, and she admits that she's met my sisters save for Lisa, and I'll be getting to that. Before. My wife's school is adjacent to where my sister works. I didn't know this. And they have met for coffee or lunch on a few occasions, with my middle sister coming to meet with them at least once. Son of a bee. By this point, I'm again furious. My oldest sister had bumped into my wife, and they struck up a conversation. The thing is, my mother provided pictures to my sisters, so she knew exactly who she was. By bumping into me, my sister simply found my wife and introduced herself. I felt I again escaped to my man cave, which is basically a room in the basement where I occasionally smoke cigars and drink with my friends. After I cooled down, I went to talk to Audrey. She had made me steak and ordered Chinese food, which was a cheap attempt to try and calm the situation. Unfortunately, it worked. We talked. After telling her that this was another omission, and I was going to seriously question our marriage, I get the entire story and buckle in for this one. People. Lisa, my ne'er-do-well, abusive sister, has basically ruined the lives of everyone in my family. She accused the husband of my middle sister of being a sexual pervert and admitted to a very fake affair. She then rocked my oldest sister's world by apparently front-kicking my youngest nephew, who is probably 3. Apparently my nephew was sitting and signing loudly at the TV. So she front-kicked him. The front kick was Lisa's favorite weapon, which I remember all too well. My sister's husband apparently tackled her, and my mother called the police. She was taken on a psych hold, and in lieu of criminal charges, she was admitted for a stay in a regional psychiatric facility and is barred from contact with my family for the time being. I'll get to that too. She was diagnosed with a slew of mental disorders, no SHD. My parents know I have a zero-tolerance policy for Lisa-related news, which is why it never filtered back to me. So, needless to say, my sister is mentally ill, and now the entire family knows. What infuriated me was that Audrey knew about this incident and wanted me to make amends. The chance that my kid gets within 100 meters of Lisa is nil. I basically told Audrey to drop the Lisa issue. It was a non-starter. She's too sick, and I am not too sure she's not putting people on. She's that cunning and too dangerous, and I am not going to put myself in any position to deal with her. Audrey accepted that. My oldest sister had to face a bunch of demons, and now realizes that to protect her husband and children, they can't be around Lisa, especially unsupervised. And Lisa can only be at events where there are a lot of potential witnesses. Lisa is not welcome at their home or my parents' home, and to interact with her, it has to be in a public place. Lisa cannot go near the children or her husband. My middle sister nearly got divorced. Her husband consistently claimed his innocence, but Lisa could spin a phenomenal story that was so convincing that people began to believe she was having an affair. My sister and her husband went through hell. But it turns out, details are not Lisa's strength, and she wound up making claims that couldn't be backed up, and that's when it all fell apart. So, my sister's husbands have banned Lisa from their houses and from seeing their kids. Lisa is now living in an apartment by herself and in routine therapy. Well, I guess after all of these events went down, it became apparent that not only was I not crazy, but my reaction to it had been at least partly justified. My sisters decided that they wanted to make amends, but I had been really uninterested. That's when they picked on the weakest duckling, my wife. My mother didn't think it was a great idea and thought that if there was going to be a meeting, she should put it out there and just let it be. I honestly would have chosen that route. But no. Audrey, doing her best to infuriate and annoy me, asked that I meet my sisters. It would be me, my 2 sisters, and no one else. I could set the time and place. I agreed on the condition that Audrey not attend and that there be 0 expectations. I chose to meet them at a local pub, which I got to about an hour early. All week, I had been dreading this. We had decided to meet on Saturday afternoon. I got there early, and I was already 2 pints in when they arrived. We sat and had a few moments of stilted conversation. I realized that their husbands had come and were sitting at a different table, so I simply invited them over. My sisters had brought pictures of their family, and they talked about what they were up to and how they were proud of me for becoming a lawyer. Just as I was about to have my dramatic moment, the wind knocked me out of my sails again. My middle sister jumps straight into it and profusely apologizes, as do my oldest sister and her husband, who grabs my hand and tells me how sorry he is okay. Seriously. I was infuriated that I was going to have my big dramatic moment, only to have the proverbial chair kicked out from under me. This caused me to drink more. There must have been over an hour of them telling me what a scumbag my sister is, how they are sorry, how they realize they damaged my childhood, etc. Well, afternoon turns to evening. I recommend that we take a photo to send to my parents. They haven't seen their kids together in years. Well, when drunk, your recycled crazy doesn't apparently think things through. My parents are thrilled and shared the photos with my wife. Audrey begins to call my phone. I'm still pissed off with her, and leaves me teary-eyed, maudlin messages. Then the idea bounces around that my sisters will host a combined birthday party family get-together early next month. Being drunk, I agree. This gets around to my parents and wife, who can't believe how well this turned out. I'm not thrilled I drank a little too much, and I'm not thrilled I agreed to some family gathering in October. But I could see how much it meant to my parents, and I realized that holding on to so much anger really made me feel better, but was hurting them. And I don't want to be vindictive, so I can tolerate getting to know them all again at set family events. So, before we went our separate ways, I got to ask a question. Why didn't they believe me? Basically, it boils down to the fact that Lisa could lie like she breathes, and could easily build a narrative where it wasn't clear who was being forthright, and I often took the blame. I told them how I still have trust issues and how Lisa's abuse impacts my personal life. This caused them to get teary and apologize, which, sadly, didn't make me as happy as I dreamed it would. My wife has been really happy, and my mother called and admitted that she knows this is just a first step, and that it's not an easy process. But having her family get back together is something that weighs heavily on her. So, I guess I made everyone happy. I'm not thrilled. Getting the answers I wanted didn't feel as good as I thought it would be. But I guess there is a weight lifted, and the feeling that people know I wasn't crazy, a liar, or wrong makes me feel better. TLDR. Lisa had attempted to ruin my sisters' lives. I met them, and it went okay. Getting the answers I had always wanted was not as satisfying as I had hoped. But I can move on and let it go. Second story. My son took his abusive mom's side, and both assaulted my daughter when she came out, so I divorced my wife. My son then falsely claimed I cheated on his mom, ruined my life, and went NC. Now, after 3 years, he has came back with bruises, begging to reconcile, revealing that his mom was abusing him. My family situation is a bit difficult. My ex-wife and I have been together for many years. During these years, our lives were okay. It wasn't perfect, but it was good enough that we decided to have children. But she had been abusive towards me basically the entire time. But being the naive guy I was, I thought it would be a normal thing and got used to it. This is important later. We had 2 children. My daughter 21F and my son 19M. Over the years, when we grew up, our house started to get into 2 different camps with totally different interests. It would be my daughter and me and my son and his mom. I always bonded better with my daughter than with him. We shared many interests, and the same applied to my son and his mother. He was an absolute mama's boy. These camps soon turned into rivalries that also caused huge arguments here and there, and not rarely, my ex-wife got physical. Over the years, I suppressed my own emotions because I knew that if I let them happen, I'd probably end up leaving my wife, and I never wanted my children to grow up with their parents separated. I always thought to myself that since she never got physical when the children were there, they hopefully wouldn't get traumatized by it. And I took it for many years. But then something happened that went far beyond the borders. 3 years ago, my daughter introduced her girlfriend to us, and she officially came out as lesbian. My ex-wife and my son reacted so insanely hostilely to that I decided that I had enough. Incredibly homophobic comments, and my son once even slapped her. I filed for divorce, and I moved with my daughter into our own home. I was financially stable to take care of her, and I knew that she deserved a loving environment no matter what. Shortly afterwards, my son began to spread the rumor that my ex-wife filed for divorce because I allegedly cheated on her, and for some reason, many people believed him except for my daughter and some really good friends. I felt hurt and betrayed. Every attempt at calling him and talking to him about this failed, and I decided to take the drastic step and disinherit him from my will as a consequence and go without contact since he didn't want to talk to me anyway. He was still in his mother's will, so I thought he was fine. By doing this, I also cut off contact with my ex-wife. My daughter was surprisingly fine with this. I thought she would miss her brother and her mom more often, but she didn't. I saw how happy she was with her girlfriend, who visited us several times. And for 3 years, we didn't hear from them. Fast forward to yesterday, when I received a call from my son. He somehow found out my number. He said that he knows that he probably doesn't deserve the chance, but if he could come over to talk, I would still be angry at him. But since he is my son, I decided to at least give him a chance to explain himself. When he came over, I noticed that he had bruises on his face. I sat him down on the couch when he started slowly apologizing. His face was completely without emotion at first. And then, all of a sudden, he broke down, crying, telling me how sorry he was, and that he wanted to be with me. He explained that when I left, she began to be abusive towards him too. She would often beat him and blame him for everything that happened. He said he is also sorry for the homophobic bullshit towards his sister, and just wishes to hug her and apologize. BTW, she wasn't home at the time. He said that he did it because he was angry at me for allegedly tearing apart the family. That was what he thought all the time was the truth. But now he knows that it was wrong. I told him that I understand him when it comes to his mother, because I was in a similar position. But I also need time to think about this, and ask his sister first before I'm going to do anything. He wiped the tears from his face and nodded. He then gave me his number and left. And now I am ambiguous. He is my son. But on the other hand, he hurt and betrayed me really badly. What I have to do is talk to my daughter about this. If she agrees to let her brother live with us, then I will consider it. But only then. Edit. So many of you misunderstood what I said. You assumed I just let him stay with his abusive mom. No, I do not. That wasn't the question. Of course, I'm going to help him get out of there. The question is, will I let him stay with us? I might be able to forgive him. But if my daughter says she feels unsafe with him around, I will help him find a different place to stay. And currently, he stays with a friend, so he's safe. Back then, he wanted to stay with his mom, and he was the one who initiated the no-contact policy by not answering any of my calls and completely deleting me from his life. And considering she was never physically abusive towards him or my daughter, I assumed she was able to control herself towards her children. And I truly thought it would be way less traumatizing if their parents would stay together, because I know what it's like to grow up between separated parents. I only did what I thought was best for them, and I know that I was wrong there. But calling me a horrible parent for not immediately reconciling and putting my daughter's concerns first isn't right either. I do want to help him, no matter the outcome. He is still my son, but letting him stay with me is something that I simply have to talk through with my daughter. Comments. Dear Race 19663. Look, I'm not going to blame you for leaving your son like others. You were going through horrible things, and it's not like he would have gone with you anyway. But if you don't help him now, you're a horrible parent. You made him. You let him get this way. You, a grown adult, stood by for 16 years as you were manipulated by your wife. You are way worse in that aspect than him. He was a child. Someone who is literally not developed. He came to you with proof of abuse, and you are considering just letting him live that way? You need to realize that everything was because of your wife, whom you married. Nothing is his fault. Help him. OP. You assumed things that I never said. The question was whether I should let him stay with us and be a part of our lives again. Of course, I wouldn't just send him back to his mom. This would be horrible. I'm going to talk to my daughter, and we will decide together what we are going to do. But no matter the outcome, I will help him find a safe place to stay. He is currently staying with a friend. Third story. Entitled Mom used me and my sister for her petty revenge on our father after their divorce, making him miserable. Now she demands that I should not allow him to see his newly born granddaughter. I finally lost it and cut ties with her. Hi, I honestly don't know if I'm here for advice or to vent my frustration. I have dealt with a lot from my mother since 2016, after she and my dad had an ugly divorce. He cheated on her after 25 years of marriage, and while I have never liked what my father did to her, that was their relationship, not mine. I comforted my mom and tried to be there for her whenever she needed me, even though at the time I was stationed in Alaska during this time. She always acted like she took the high road in this situation over the next 8 years. But that was far from the truth. She did a lot to try to manipulate me and my younger sister. She told me several times over the phone around that time that she wished my dad would die, and I had to beg her to stop. She destroyed or got rid of some of my dad's things, even though he did ask her to return them whenever she no longer had use of them to keep the peace. One of those items was a Christmas wreath that my sister made with these special stocking stuffers we got my dad every year as kids. She destroyed it right in front of my sister, and neither one of us has been able to find or replace it. She got my grandparents to bribe my sister and her fiancé at the time with a lot of money to tell my dad that he couldn't come to the wedding. That broke my dad at the time, and he told me that he always tried to be a good dad, even if he wasn't a good husband. She left town to avoid me one time when I was on leave because I came to stay with my dad while helping my sister move with me to Colorado. It hurt me that she yelled at me over the phone about my decision and choice to avoid me despite me. At the time, I had not seen my dad for 2.5 years and had missed him a lot. She realized that she had hurt me and promised to try to not make me choose between her and my dad again. Not that she kept it. And these are only some of my examples of things she has done. Over the next 8 years, my parents had no contact with one another. They both avoided going to certain events and have not once tried to even be in the same room for anything important in mine or my sister's life. Last year, I found out that my sister was pregnant, and I was over the moon for her. Mom promised to buy me a ticket to come see her in June, around the time to help my sister, as I was trying to save up money to come out for Christmas this year with my whole family. I have been so excited for my sister, and she gave birth to her beautiful baby girl last weekend on Sunday. My flight has been scheduled, and I've been so excited, as I also made some plans to see my friends for a day. I was even excited to spend time with my mom on her birthday, as we haven't had a lot of time to do that since I have had kids of my own. Everything went downhill when my dad told me he was coming down around the same time as well to come see us and the new baby. My sister and I were excited to spend time with our dad, and for him to see the new baby. Only then, the moment my mom found out, everything went downhill. My mom called me up yesterday to tell me that she was disappointed with me. She was so angry with me that I allowed my dad to come out to see me and the baby on her dime during her birthday week. I tried to reason with her, telling her that I can't control my dad's decisions, and that I'm still going to spend her entire birthday with her, as well as most of the time on this trip. That wasn't good enough. She wanted me to tell my dad to go back home to his state, or to tell him that I would not see him. I told her no, and that I refused to be manipulated by her into hurting my dad. I love both of my parents and don't get a lot of chances to see them since I live across the US due to my husband's career in the military. She threatened that if I don't do as she asks, then she will rearrange the dates on my tickets or outright cancel them. I can't believe she would do this, not only to me, but to everyone who was excited to see me. I called my sister and told her everything. Apparently, she did the same thing to my sister, and she also told Mom no. At this point, I got angry and told my sister that this was my last straw with Mom. If she cancels my tickets over her petty hatred for Dad, then I will have no contact with her. I'm sick of her trying to manipulate me into doing what she wants. She has always used gifts and money as leverage over people, which is something my grandparents also do. She wants my answer about what I plan on doing with her ultimatum by today. My sister told me that cutting her off is the wrong thing to do, as we are both acting on our emotions, and she is telling me that Mom is reacting to her past trauma. My husband, who is normally against the idea of cutting off family, thinks that my mom has gone too far with her BS, and thinks that maybe I should consider cutting her off if she cancels my tickets. Today, I called the airline, since the tickets were under my name, and told them I don't want them to be canceled unless it is me calling them. But I worry that won't be enough to stop her. Honestly, even if she does stop what she is doing, I don't know if I will ever trust her again after the awful things she said to me. At this point, I want to go on the trip and then cut her off afterwards. I don't even know if that is the right thing to do, as I worry it will affect the rest of my family. Update. So it's done. I have cut her off. Thank you to everyone who has commented. It means a lot to me that everyone is so understanding, and I feel less alone in my struggles with the help of internet strangers. So this is what happened. We talked on the phone last night, and she won't even hear me out. Kept making it about her and her birthday. She wanted me to promise her that I wouldn't see my dad the entire week that I was there because she paid for my ticket to be there. I kept trying to tell her that I hadn't even made any plans with Dad yet, and he would have come out to see the baby regardless of whether I was there or not. Dad had the time off anyway to help out his brother, but those plans had to get pushed back. He decided to make the trip to see the baby instead of wasting the vacation days. It honestly should not have been the end of the world if I got to see my dad for just one time out of the whole week. I would have been there. I was going to spend her entire birthday with her, just the two of us. I should have known better than to accept her offer to buy me a ticket as an early birthday gift. She always uses gifts as leverage over me and my sister, as she learned this awful behavior from my grandparents. I'm done. I can't forgive her for this. She took away the precious time I could have spent with my newborn niece because she was throwing a fit. I was going to come out still with a ticket I would be buying, but my sister wants me to plan a different trip in the future with less drama surrounding it. She had a rough pregnancy only a week ago, and I gave her the choice of whether she would like me to come or not. Knowing Mom, even if I bought the ticket with my own money, she would have still made the trip miserable for everyone with the way that she is acting. I'm planning on making a trip out there later in the year and saving up more money for it. I'm hoping to see my sister in a few months, and I am thankful that we are still okay after all of this. I won't lie. It hurts me so much to cut my mom off like this, but I can't keep doing this with her. I don't want to hurt my dad to make her happy, because she is trying to control me with her money and her gifts. I'm taking the time to grieve, and then I'm going to move on with my life without my mother in it for the unseeable future. Thanks again to everyone who took the time to read this and comment. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.